Hey, good morning, DFS Army. It's Craig Bennett here for a NBA First Look podcast, TGIF. Massive 10-game slate tonight. We're going to use DraftKings as the backdrop again. I will talk about FanDuel pricing as any indiscrepancies there and guys that I like. And we'll just build a sample lineup and kind of see how it's going tonight. Again, massive slate. Again, look out for those prize pick videos that I've been dropping and prop bets. We've been on fire on prop bets. Almost had the sweep last night. So if you like this content, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when I drop a new video. And let's just dig right into this. All right, again, massive 10-game slate here. First game, we have Indy at Charlotte. Indy favored by 3 with a 219.5 over under. Over on the Indy side, let's look at injury news real quick, see if we got any injury news. I don't think we do in this game. I think we're pretty healthy in this game. So, yeah, this game we're pretty good. There are some injury concerns down the road, but not this game. Leading off salary-wise, Sabonis, $9,200 on DraftKings, $9K on FanDuel. I think he's priced up towards a ceiling where there's not a whole lot of meat left on the bone that I think we need to look at jumping on him. I don't think I'm going to look here on a slate this large, but definitely you can look at him. I think on FanDuel he's a fair price, especially in cash games because the minutes are just massive. This guy plays 37, 40, 45 minutes. The 11, there's an outlier. He got hurt that game. But the guy is averaging 37 minutes for the season, 1.21 fantasy points per minute. And a 24% usage rate. But again, I think more FanDuel than DraftKings, so I don't think I'll be there. But again, the guy put up 55 against this team in 37 minutes, only shot 10 shots at 90% from the field, triple-double just 2 nights ago. So definitely you can consider him. I think way more of a FanDuel play, though, but you can consider him on DraftKings as well. Brogdon at 8,400, 8,300 on FanDuel. Definitely in play. Again, he is averaging 37 minutes as well, 1.13 fantasy points per minute, 27% usage rate. A guy that we can look at. I was a little curious what Jeremy Lamb back in the rotation was going to do to him, but the minutes are still there. Those guys are going to lead the team in minutes. Jeremy Lamb at 4,900 and 5,200 on FanDuel. He's kind of all over the place. In his last 4 games, 21, 33, 20, and 28 minutes. 14, 36, 19, and 34 fantasy points. Again, it's just tournaments only for a guy like that. I think you're looking at just Sabonis and Brogdon. Over on FanDuel, though, Justin Holiday, 4,600, 4,700 on DraftKings. He is actually averaging 31 minutes for the season. And again, put up 34 fantasy points in 38 minutes here against Charlotte. So, I think on FanDuel at that small forward position at 4,600, it's a really nice salary here. So on a slate this large, that's about where I look at it. I can never get Turner right. He's 7,900 on FanDuel, which I think is way too expensive. 7,200 on DraftKings. I'm just never going to play the guy. So for me, it's Sabonis or Brogdon on DraftKings and FanDuel, and then I would add Justin Holiday over on FanDuel. Let's go over to Charlotte side. Again, Gordon Hayward down to 7K on DraftKings. He is 7,600 on FanDuel. Only put up 25 fantasy points, but the minutes have been massive. He's averaging 35 minutes a game, 1.08 fantasy points per minute, 25% usage rate for the season. The minutes are there for him. Didn't have that good of a game against Indy here. I think you could go right back to him at 7K. That's a really interesting price. 7,600 on FanDuel. Guys that a perfect example last night, Ayton had a really bad game and then he came out and just had an awesome game last night. Things like that where, this is just a really good price for Hayward. We're going to throw him in this lineup real quick, just at that price. Again, I can't play Graham or Rozier, Washington, LaMelo Ball, man, 5,800. He's getting down there, 5,500 on FanDuel. He's getting on there, what makes an interesting tournament play. The minutes are really low. The coach has talked about it, like I've mentioned before. He's just got to pick up his defense, and his turnovers can't be there. Like you noticed, last game he only had 1, but before that, 3, 4, 5. You can't turn the ball over. The coach ain't going to play you if you're turning the ball over all the time. But makes it interesting tournament play at that price. but you cannot trust this in cash games with the minutes he's getting. He's been a 1.22 fantasy points per minute over the season, but he's only averaging 24 minutes, and he's on the downtick of that. So for me, it's just that. One guy that could be interesting again is Cody Zeller. He's 4,600 on FanDuel, but only 4K on DraftKings. Played 30 minutes in the start last game against Indy. Put up a double-double, 37 fantasy points. I don't think we can expect that every night, but at 4K, we're going to shove him in this lineup just because he's cheap center, and I don't know where all the value is going to come from. So I don't mind both these guys in this lineup at all. And I said, if you want to bring it back with Sabonis, if we can make it work, that's okay. But these guys look like the value for me. Even on FanDuel, I'm okay with Cody Zeller at 4,600. That's just too cheap from him. And I said Hayward's in play too at 7,600 on FanDuel. But that's about it from this team. Let's head on over to Atlanta and Washington. We have a 232 over-under, and Atlanta is favored by 4.5. Now, we do have some injury concerns in this game. Let's look at the Atlanta side. Looks like Reddish is questionable, and Rondo is questionable. So if Reddish sits, we'll just see more Hunter. Herter can get a few more minutes. Gallo. If Rondo is out, maybe Goodwin's probably going to back up Trae Young. Maybe Trae Young gets a few more minutes. But 9,100 on DraftKings for Trae Young. Again, this is a great matchup. Both these teams super high total for the slate. I think it's the highest one I see so far. Let me see the totals. Up to 234 now. Atlanta favored by 4.5. Just refreshed. So you're going to want a piece of this game. Like I said, Trae Young at 9,100 on DraftKings, 10.6 on FanDuel. So you're getting a discount here on DraftKings. I think you can consider him for sure. Clint Capella, 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,900 on DraftKings. He's got some monster games in him, but 8,900 is a price tag. If we're playing cash games, I'd rather go Sabonis. I just feel like it's safer than Capella. Capella's got way more upside though, so consider that in tournaments for sure. John Collins, I have a hard time playing him at 7,200. The last 3 games have been pretty decent though because the minutes have been high. If he's going to get 39, 35, 37 minutes, 37, 41, and 45 fantasy points, then I'm all for it. 7,800 on FanDuel, a little pricey. I think he's better playing on DraftKings, so we can consider him here. But those minutes need to be there because he's only averaging 31 minutes for the season. So these last 3 games, 39, 35, and 37. Now that Brooklyn game did go into OT, I believe. But still, 35 and 37. If he's going to see minutes that high, that's just too cheap for him, even alongside Capella. So we'll have to see what's going on there. Hunter, 6,600 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DraftKings. Again, it's a great matchup against Washington. I think you can take a lot of pieces from this game. 39, 36, 46 over his last 3 games, 45, 36, 42 minutes. The minutes are up there, especially if we don't get any Reddish. We can consider him for sure. We can consider both Hunter and Collins at their price. Same thing on FanDuel, I don't mind. Gallo, I can never play at 4,300 even. The minutes are not there for me. 14, 14, 19, just not doing it. Even if we get Reddish out, I don't think I could do it. But if you're going to take a chance, it's on DraftKings. He's 5K on FanDuel. Herter's down to 4,800 on FanDuel. He is 5,800 on DraftKings, 23, 22, 18. Hunter's kind of took over the offensive load the last 3 games. So I think you're going to want someone from Atlanta. We kind of have to figure out what Reddish is going to do. Again, if we don't have Reddish is out, then, Hunter's been kind of on a tear. So we'll throw Hunter in this lineup, but I think you can run John Collins as well. So you can throw John Collins in here as well. We'll throw him here as we go through things. And then, like I said, Trae Young's always going to be in play. 56, 51, 56, 66. Just a hell of a discount on DraftKings. I prefer him over Brogdon of the first game here. So really, really nice on this side of the ball. Over on the Washington side, see what injuries we have here. Looks like we have they're starting to get healthy here. Rui is probable to come back today. So Hachimura is gonna, he'll take some shots away from Beal. He's definitely the third wheel in that when it comes to offensive side. But Bertans is back. Bertans is all about shooting the 3. So there's more shots they're going to take away from those guys. Troy Brown's still out. Ish Smith is still out. Mo Wagner's probable as well. So they're starting to get a little bit healthy here. So it's not like they're going to have all their scrubs. We look at this a little bit, Bertans is already up to 5,100 on DraftKings. I can't go there. I think these minutes are going to be spread out with our first game back. He might only see 20 minutes. I can't pay that price tag for him. We look at Rui. Again, I can't see them playing heavy minutes here. That's what scares me about these guys. 3 bigs coming back. They could just spread the minutes out on their first game here against Atlanta. It's a great matchup, but I'm not sure that they're going to get the minutes to actually do any damage. So we got to take that into consideration when picking these guys. And so I think even though it's a great matchup against Atlanta, I'm probably just looking at Westbrook's minutes should be up. He's 9K on DraftKings, 9,600 on FanDuel, 28-25 his last 2 games. But I would rather have Trae Young on the other side for 100 more. So, with both Beal and Westbrook, I think in tournaments you can look at Westbrook, but I think it's more on the Atlanta side, just with their condensed rotations lately and the minutes they've been getting. Bradley Beal at 10-2, 10-5 on FanDuel. It's kind of a stay away spot for me. He put up 70 fantasy points against the Pelicans, but we didn't have any Russell Westbrook on that back-to-back. And so that's why he took 37 shots in 40 minutes. That is insane. So again, we're probably going to see closer to the 45 to 50 fantasy points. And at 10-2 and at 10-5, it is a full fade for me. So I might just full fade this side of the Washington side, unless we get some clarification later in the day when it comes to minutes for Rui. Bertans or Wagner's down to 3,200. But again, he's only going to see probably a handful of minutes, 15, 16 minutes. They got others. So Washington getting healthy. Don't really like this at all. I think it's kind of a stay away spot for me and focus on the Atlanta side. Let's head on over to Milwaukee at the Pelicans. We have a 228.5 over under. Milwaukee favored by 7. On Milwaukee side, we don't have any injury concerns, so it's the same crew that we usually have here. It's Giannis at 10-8 on DraftKings, 11-3 on FanDuel. Middleton, 8,400 on DraftKings, 8K on FanDuel. Holiday, 7K on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. On FanDuel, they're all super priced up. I don't think you need to play any of them. But again, the Pelicans, the way they play, I don't mind taking some chances at Giannis in tournaments on FanDuel, always at that power forward position. Middleton, since he's a small forward, he's in play at 8K, but 8,400 on DraftKings, I can't get there. But he's put up 52, 41, 37, and 43. More of a cash play. There's not a lot of meat left on the bone at that price when I'm looking for trying to get over 6X in my tournament lineups. Holiday at 7K, 30, 29, 41, 37 over his last 4. It's just really hard to play these guys. However, Holiday is going back to the Pelicans. So if you want to look at that revenge narrative, if you want to call it that, more for it just on DraftKings price-wise. On FanDuel at 7,700, I don't love it. But, in tournaments, I guess you can look at it. But 7K on DraftKings, you can consider it. Again, going back and playing the Pelicans, in New Orleans. So maybe he has a little bit of wants to show up a little bit for his old team. And then we always got to talk about Bobby Portis. He's always going to be playing tournaments. 5,300 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings. You're not looking for the 15 points and the 19-point games. You're looking for these 30-point games. Atlanta put up 30. There's in here is 42 against Cleveland, 40 against Detroit. He is just a tournament play only. But at 4,200, you have to have a piece of him in your tournaments, because at 4,200, if he puts up 40 spot and goes 10X, you're going to wish you had him in your lineups. I can't consider him a cash play at all. Do not do that. Over on the Pelican side, the big news here is just Lonzo Ball. He is questionable with a bad right ankle. So if he is out, then Bledsoe at 5,700 on DraftKings and 5,500 on FanDuel. On FanDuel is a great play. DraftKings 5,700. Don't love it, but the minutes are going to be there. 36 and 34 minutes over his last 2. 32 and 41 fantasy points. So we have to consider him. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 4,200, might get the start next to Bledsoe. And again, 30 minutes last game when when Ball kind of went down, put up 27 DraftKings points. Over here on FanDuel is 4,200 as well. So if we don't have Ball here, if Ball does sit, I do like some Alexander Walker, and I don't mind playing both him and Ball together. Alexander Walker is going to get run regardless. Bledsoe, I can see them sitting him if they got down. They're 7-point dogs here. So Alexander Walker is going to get run no matter what. So I do prefer him on that side. If you're going to pick one between him and Bledsoe. Zion at 7,600 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. Better play on DraftKings. I think you can consider him going up against Milwaukee, except Zion gets all of his points in the paint, and Milwaukee does not give up points in the paint. So now Zion's a different beast. That dude's built like a Mack truck. He should be able to do whatever he wants to do. But just keep that in mind. They give up points more towards the three-point line. So keep that in mind when you're building your lineups. Ingram at 8K on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel. Again, I think there's better plays on this slate. I don't think you need to go there. You know, if Ball does sit, we should see a usage bump for Ingram, for Zion, and that. But again, I think there's better ways to go. I think favorite guy on this team is definitely going to be Alexander Walker at price on both sites if Ball sits. So we need that to sit. And again, on FanDuel, I don't mind playing Bledsoe at 5,500. I think you can play them both, even on DraftKings at their prices. So that's where I would look at. Let's head on over to the next game. Cleveland at the Knicks, 208 over under. My Lord, that's a low over under. Cleveland favored by 1. Let's start on the Cleveland side, see what injury news we have to worry about here. Larry Nance is still questionable. Kevin Love has been out forever. Same thing with Dellavedova. So Larry Nance out. As long as he's out, I think you can consider Drummond. It's when Nance plays and you got three bigs in the Allen, Nance, and Drummond's where you got to worry. And then if Kevin Love ever comes back, then it's just even gets more of a mess. So Drummond at 8,600 here. Over on FanDuel, he is priced at 9,400, so he is priced up over there. So better play over on DraftKings, 8,600. But again, he's got to be super efficient in his minutes. His minutes still haven't been there. 28 minutes the last 2 games. So even at this price, he's got to be super efficient. Now, he took 24 shots against Detroit, put up 23 and 16, but 5 steals and 2 blocks got him 59 DraftKings points. I don't think I'm going to chase this with those minutes, though, at all. And there was no Larry Nance that game. So just tournaments only for me. Larry Sexton, 6,700. No thank you. Jared Allen at 5,200 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. Again, just not really getting it done. I don't like this game in low total. Just a horrible kind of game to look at here. Garland back, didn't have a minutes restriction. He played 31 minutes against Detroit, put up 26 fantasy points. He is 5,200 on FanDuel, priced up to 5K. He was only 4,600, I think, a couple slates ago when he didn't that game back. So I just think this is just kind of a stay away spot. We try to condense down a little bit and find games to kind of cross off. I think this is one of them you can kind of cross off unless we can find some value on the Knicks side here. Again, on the Knicks side, see what injury concerns we have here. They look to be pretty healthy. Burks is probable. Bullock is questionable. So if Bullock is again out, I think we can look at Alec Burks again. His minutes will be there. Now he is 5,100 on DraftKings, which is priced up, 5,300 on FanDuel. But if we don't have any Bullock here, 23 minutes, 20 fantasy points, but only shot 20% from the field. So if he hits a few more shots, he might be able to get there. But again, this is just one of those crazy games where I'm just not excited about it. Julius Randle, 9,300 on DraftKings. Again, we just talked about Sabonis. We just talked about, Capella, guys that I just would rather play than playing Randle against Cleveland in a low over-under game. The minutes are there, but I just can't do it. RJ Barrett, 6,300 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. I think on FanDuel you can consider both Randle and Barrett at 8,800 on FanDuel for Randle and 6,400 for Barrett. But other than that, I don't like it. We can talk about Austin Rivers 2 games ago. That dude shot lights out. He was 10 for 10 before he missed those next 4 shots. Put up 32 fantasy points. Don't be chasing that score. He just shot lights out. He's 3,800. And on this slate, I don't think you need to go here. So let's not spend too much time on that game. Sacramento at Toronto. Toronto favored by 5.5. Over under is 229. If we go look at the Sacramento side of things, see what news we have here. It looks like Bjelica is questionable or doubtful. I'm sorry. So that's really all the news that we have here. DeAndre Fox, he is 8,500 on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel. So De'Aaron Fox on FanDuel, pretty good tag here. But going up against Toronto, not super excited to play him. Buddy Hield at 5,800 on FanDuel, 6,500 on DraftKings. Put up a 50 burger against Orlando, which is, again, kind of an outlier because he's been around 24, 27, 33. If his shot is falling, he can put up big points. I think more of a FanDuel play at 5,800. I don't think I'm going to pay that over here on DraftKings. I think it's a little inflated. Rashawn Holmes, 7,400 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DraftKings. 40 and 41 over his last 2, but playing Orlando and the Knicks. Tournaments only, but that price is just, starting to get up there where I don't think your lineup construction is going to take you there. It's a tough team to read. Bagley at 5,800 on DraftKings. He's up to 6K on FanDuel. 36, 27, 24, and 44 over his last 4 games. It all comes down to minutes for him. When he's on the court, the dude's going to shoot. That is for sure. He's a 23% usage rate when he's on the court, 1 fantasy point per minute. So, if he's a 1 fantasy point per minute and he's almost 6K, we need about 36 out of him. He can get there, but just tournaments only. I have a hard time with the old Luke Walton special here with Sacramento. I can never get them right. They're better in pace-up matchups, so I don't love this team in Toronto. I like Sacramento when they're playing like Atlanta, when they're playing Washington. Teams like that, Minnesota, just trash teams where they can get up and down. That's just, they fit better there. So don't love anybody on DraftKings here. On the Toronto side, OG Anunoby is questionable here. So if he was to be out, Norman Powell will get the start. And 6,200 on DraftKings for Norman Powell. But he's been on a stinking tear, man. 6,200 on FanDuel is priced up. But 41, 40, 37 minutes over his last 3. 41, 43, and 32 over his last 3. I think he's someone, if Anunoby sits, just how well he's been playing, I think we could slide him into our lineups here in this one we're building. I know it's priced up, but he does have the ability to go 7x that salary. So someone we can consider, as we're going through things, we might throw some of these guys on the side, but just at price, doing real well. Fred VanVleet, 7,500 on DraftKings is way too cheap against a bad Sacramento team. 8,300 on FanDuel. Put up 46, 46, 41 over his last 3. So squarely in play on both sites. But really a good discount over here on DraftKings. I like that price for him. Even Siakam at 7,300 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. He's kind of all over the place, as you can see. 26, 42, 29, 28. I think when Powell gets in there, Powell takes a lot more of the shots, and it kind of hurts his upside. So it's the guards for me. I'm just going to focus on Powell, VanVleet, and then Lowry. 7,100 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel, averaging 36 points a minute, right around a fantasy point per minute. So at this price point, 23% usage rate, I think that, there's a chance for him to get there. But if we look at it, 34, 17, 34, it's been Powell, the guy that's just been on fire. So I think if I had to rank him, it's Powell, VanVleet, and Lowry. But because of how volatile Lowry has been, he makes an interesting tournament play. But Powell he's a guy that's just clicking right now, and a guy I would like to look at. Boucher at 6,100 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel. Again, look, these minutes are all over the place with Nurse, man. 13, 30, 21, 20, 20, 28, 28, 11, 12 fantasy points. You just can't play him, man. I mean, in tournaments, we know the upside, but on a slate this large, I don't think you need to go there. That's about all we're looking at in this game. Let's head over to Philly at Minnesota. We have a 225 over under with Philly favored by 7. On the Philly side, we do have Joel Embiid is questionable. See what other news that we have here for Philly. Yeah, he's questionable back tightness. And then Mike Scott's still out. So again, if Embiid is out, Howard's going to get the start. He is 4,200 on DraftKings. Now, he didn't do that great last game that Embiid was out, but he's going to get the start. And the last game he was out, played 24 minutes, put up 15 fantasy points, just didn't get it going at all against Detroit. So I think he's going to be popular, and I think that in cash games, if Embiid is out, you're probably looking to play him. So you're looking probably like a Zeller, Howard build, something like that. Tony Bradley's going to back him up, and if you're not playing Howard, I wouldn't play them together, even at price. But Bradley at 3,600, in that last game that he played when Howard struggled, they actually started Bradley the second half, which was, and then they brought Howard off the bench. So who knows? I mean, maybe if Embiid's out, they decided to start Bradley. And if that's the case, he's always been productive in the minutes. He gets 23 minutes against that Detroit game, 25 fantasy points, 14 in Atlanta, put up 21. Always been a monster when he's on the court. Fantasy points for Bradley's he's just a beast. But again, we kind of have to feel out Embiid, and if he does sit, we'll have to see who starts. I would assume they'd start Howard again, and that was just maybe Howard was struggling and they changed up matchups and whatnot. But Bradley makes a good tournament option regardless of what they do, because whoever they start's going to be popular, and I do think they're going to start Howard. But 3,600, just keep that in mind for Tony Bradley here. Ben Simmons, 7,700 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel. Just a fade for me. Tournaments only if we get beat out. Tobias Harris, 6,800 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. He would be in cash consideration for me if Embiid was out. He put up 38 points that game where they kind of struggled against Detroit and lost. But again, 6,800 is too cheap. So maybe he's somebody that I would consider over Gordon Hayward or Collins in this lineup. But there's different ways to go. Someone you have to consider. And then Seth Curry, 4,400 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. Playing big minutes. His shot's just not fallen recently. 16%, 20% from the field. His last 2 games, not shooting well from the 3. And that's what he does. He's a scorer. He averages 0.82 fantasy points per minute and real low 18% usage rate, but he's not a big usage guy. He's just a shooter. But he's averaging around 29 minutes a game. And at this price, I prefer Alexander Walker, but he's another guy that you can kind of consider here. My buddy Danny Green, as you guys know, he's the kind of guy that if Embiid is out, maybe he gets a few more shots. He's just all over the place. He's so hard to trust. And as long as Seth Curry's there, I have a hard time playing any of these guys. So, again, recap things here in Philly. We need the Embiid news. If Embiid sits, probably playing Howard in cash games or Tony Bradley in tournaments, or for some weird reason, Doc decides to start Bradley over Howard, then Bradley would just be almost a lock button at that price. Over on the Minnesota side, looks like D'Angelo Russell is questionable here. Towns is still out. Culver's out as well. So, again, with Towns out, we're still going to see Naz Reid. Vanderbilt, they're probably still going to be starting here. Going up against Philly, I don't like this at all. If Embiid is out, you can consider them more, but it's still not a spot that I'm really excited about taking any of these guys. So, even at prices, I think you're just going to pay down to Zeller and Howard if we're going to go that route. So I don't think it's a spot that I'm looking to pay up for or pay this price. Vanderbilt is interesting though at 5,100. He is 5,700 on FanDuel. 24, 28, 37, 27 over his last 4. The usage rate for him is low, but 1.18 fantasy points per minute. But the minutes, 25, 25, 21, 27. I want to see 30 minutes out of the guy. And that's the only thing that's kind of really stopping me from wanting to play a guy like that. Beasley would get an uptick, 6,700 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. 36, 41, 29, 28 over his last 4. Again, the minutes have been really weird there as well. But again, if we look at, last 2 games, if, they've lost double digits. First one they got blown out. But if Russell is out, definitely consider Beasley. I think more so on DraftKings, but even on FanDuel at that small forward position, it's sometimes hard to fill. And then Ricky Rubio, 5,300 on FanDuel. Over here on DraftKings, 5K, 12, 27, 28. Again, the minutes. Saunders is just in my Luke Walton bag of coaches I hate for DFS purposes. It's just an NBA in general, like rotations and what they do with the talent around them. They're just not good coaches, man. Just period. They're not. So I have a hard time trusting any of these guys, to be honest with you. If you are, for me, it's Rubio, Vanderbilt, Beasley are the only guys I look at. Like I said, Naz Reid at 5,900 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. It's just 44, 30, 30, 36. Just the minutes, though, man. Like, it's so hard to trust that. And at this price, I need 35 plus out of him, and he's done it 2 out of the last 4 games. So probably more of a play on FanDuel that is for DraftKings, because we have these cheap centers that we can probably go after. So, again, we'll have to kind of feel out the news a little bit there. Let's head on over to Brooklyn at OKC. This game is a 231.5 over under. Brooklyn favored by 9. I don't think we have any injury considerations in this game at all. So we have all the studs playing. Harden, 10-3 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is 9-8. So the price is coming down on FanDuel where you can consider him. Put up a monster game. They're just not good defensively. Against Atlanta, 46 minutes, ended up putting 72 fantasy points. So it's kind of an outlier, though, coming back to Brooklyn here. But OKC is trash on defense. But 10-3 for him. Durant, 9,900 on DraftKings. 10-7 on FanDuel. Definitely the bargain is here. I think what you do is you play Harden. If you're going to play any of these guys, you play Harden on FanDuel for the price savings there, and you play Durant on DraftKings. Irvin, 8,700, 9,200. Again, same kind of thing. 45, 33, 48. I just would rather go up to guys that I feel like are going to get more usage out of him. It's tough to... it's really tough to play these guys. Like, yes, it could happen where they go off again if it's a close game. Sure. Now, Durant is going back to OKC. So is Harden. Harden hadn't played there in forever, and Durant hadn't played there in a long time. But just tournaments only for me. I can't trust them in cash games, not at their prices and just what they're going to do. And again, the rest of these guys I don't want to touch. On the OKC side, again, no injury news here. Al Horford is back in our lives, though. He came back last game and actually had a pretty good game against Phoenix. Put up 49 fantasy points, went 21-11, 30 minutes, shot 8 from 12. So at 5,900, I do hate that he's only center eligible here. 5,500 on FanDuel is just way too cheap. Some guy we can consider, again, Biggs against Brooklyn. I don't mind considering him if we don't have a cheap Howard that we can plug in here, or Bradley or somebody like that with Zeller. I think we can consider him against this Brooklyn team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 8,300 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel. Another kind of play that, Brooklyn, just the way they've been playing defense, I think you can consider him here. It's a matchup that, they like to get up and down. 48, 50, 40, 50 for the last 4. Again, at that price on DraftKings, I think he's fairly in play. Same on FanDuel, so I don't mind playing him. And again, Isaiah Roby's out of play with Horford back. His minutes will not be there, which is unfortunate. We'll just have to wait till Horford's out again and play Roby, because I always like playing that guy. Lou Dort down here to 4,400 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. Again, the points aren't there, though. He's been, when I watch Dort, he's a defensive guy, but he really pushes the 3-pointers, and I hate it because I don't feel like that's his game. He's built like a linebacker. He needs to go to the basket and get his points that way, not so much shooting threes. So no thank you there. and all these other guys. With Horford back, I don't think we can consider too much here. So it's really just SGA and Horford here. Even Baisley at 5K on both sides. He's been shooting a bunch of threes. 20, 31, and 24. But with Horford back, we got to look at that last game. Shot 1 for 8 from threes. Like, it's just, the team's just shooting a ton of threes. So if he had a few more of those, he could probably get there, but no one that I actually love to play. But again, I think you can consider Horford and Alexander, and Baisley would be the distant third here. Let's head on over to the Clippers at Orlando. The Clippers are on a back-to-back here. They just played last night, back-to-back 3 and 4, so they played a lot of basketball here. We do have, I believe that on the Clippers side, Leonard and Paul are both doubtful still. Patrick Beverley is out. So we're going to see all the Reggie Jackson in our lives again. FanDuel 5,800, he's going to be a core play, no doubt about it. He's going to play massive minutes. Been playing really well in the 2 games that we haven't had the 2 studs here. So 37 and 39 minutes, put up 37 and 46 FanDuel points, or DraftKings points. I think he's a core play on FanDuel. 5,800, just stupid. On DraftKings, you can consider him at 6,700. I think you can even play him in this lineup here. So maybe we don't get the news with Howard and we go a Jackson in this lineup. Even at that price, he was 7K last night and still almost got there. So I don't mind him even on DraftKings, but better play on FanDuel. Batum went off last night for 35 points, fantasy points. Played 31 minutes, shot 6 from 12 against Miami here. You can consider him. He is priced at 5,300 on FanDuel, so should be play heavy minutes. Like Jackson and Batum on FanDuel. Luke Kennard, 5,500. Again, on a slate this big, I don't think you need to go there. Serge Ibaka's 6,200 on both sides. Center only, though, but 36, 30, 26, and 33. Again, they're all priced down because there's no Kawhi and with no Kawhi and Paul George. They're super cheap on FanDuel. Ibaka is the most expensive guy on FanDuel at 6,200. And then Terrence Mann, 5,600 on DraftKings is a fade for me, but 4,500 on FanDuel for a guy that's going to play a decent amount of minutes. Only put up 20 fantasy points in 27 minutes, but I think we're going to get closer to the 30 minutes for him this game. So that's where I would look. Lou Williams at 5,700 on DraftKings. 5K over on FanDuel, so they've actually brought his price down on FanDuel, something reasonable. Put up 33 fantasy points in 28 minutes. So, I think with his price now on FanDuel, I hate that he's a point guard over there, but you can definitely consider him at 5K. Lou can put up 40 in 20 minutes. So on DraftKings, it's a little pricey for me, but, I think I prefer playing Reggie Jackson, Ibaka, Batum, and then probably Williams here. And that's about it from this team. But playing a back-to-back, I do think that we're going to see some minutes. But yeah, Reggie Jackson, I'll tell you right now, core play at 5,800 on FanDuel. Over on the Orlando side, let's see what injury news we have on Orlando. It looks like just Michael Carter-Williams is still out. So nothing big. We're still going to see, Cole Anthony play a bunch here at point. Again, the Clippers are not going to be the same defensive team with both those guys out. One guy we got to talk about, I saw our boy Three Putts, man, put out a really fire gif. Or he made this thing with Aaron Gordon. It was funny how bad he was. I mean, it wasn't funny how bad he was, but he was bad. Put up 15 fantasy points in 26 minutes. Shot 1 from 9. 3 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. But against the Clippers, I think you go right back here. He is 7,100 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel. When a guy has a bad game like that, go right back to him. And 6,300 is a stupid price for him for the minutes he's been playing, how good he's been playing. And again, this Clippers on a back-to-back 3 and 4. They're going to be tired. So like some Aaron Gordon a lot here, especially on FanDuel. It's a stupid price. Evan Fournier, 6,300 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. Had a really good 4-stretch run here. Guy you better put in some of your lineups, especially on FanDuel at small forward. But 41, 36, 35, and 46 over his last 4. And again, I don't like playing Fournier at all, but you have to consider that. And as long as Michael Carter-Williams is out, it's just going to solidify even more shots for him. Williams ain't going to play a ton, but off the bench. But just guys that have been consistent that are doing well, you have to consider. So Fournier is definitely in play on both sites, and Vooch 8,800 on FanDuel and 9,200 on DraftKings. 40, 57, 45, 48. I just don't like this price tag. I would rather play the Sabonis for something similar here. I think he's always going to be in cash consideration because he's so consistent, but I don't know if there's a ton of upside in tournaments at this price. But again, a guy you can consider, and that's really how I would look at those three. Ross is always going to be in play. 4,900 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings. Put up 31 fantasy points last game. But again, it's all comes down to the shots, and he got there with 3 steals and 2 blocks, which that's not his game. So I would just focus on those top 3 guys. And again, Aaron Gordon on FanDuel is just ridiculous at 6,300. Let's head on over to Denver at the Spurs. 221.5 over under. Denver favored by 5. Really no big injury consideration here. Jokic is at 10-1. He is priced up here. 11-2 on FanDuel, so really priced up. But going against the Spurs that is really bad against bigs. So a guy you got to consider. However, I think with Michael Porter Jr. back, it is hurting Jokic's upside the last couple games. As you can see, 42 and 43 fantasy points the last 2, 66 and 62 before that. But with Michael Porter Jr. back, I don't think the upside is going to be there for Jokic as much. I mean, he can still dominate a game, but I don't think we're going to see it as consistent as we did. Michael Porter Jr., 6,600 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. It all comes down to Malone if he's going to play him or not. 25 and 28 minutes the last 2, 32 and 46 fantasy points. I think you can consider him in tournaments, especially over on FanDuel at that small forward position. But he's going to hurt all these other guys. Jamal Murray's definitely in consideration in tournaments. 6,900 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel, 28, 22, 43, and 46. Again, when Porter Jr. plays, he just steals so many shots from these other guys. So I think they're just all tournaments only. You can't play any of these guys in cash right now. And Porter Jr., I'll just take the savings. So it's basically him and Murray I would look at, and I wouldn't play them together. If one goes off, the other one probably is not going off. And then Jokic is probably a fade for me here. He's always going to be in play, but it just worries me with that usage that Porter Jr. Is taken away from him. Let's go over on the Spurs side. The Spurs are all cheap over here on DraftKings. 6,800 for DeMar DeRozan. Wow. He is 7,700 on FanDuel. We got a hell of a discount on DeMar DeRozan. And we can play him at small forward and power forward, which is nice. 37, 25, 47, 23. Denver's not a good defensive team at all. I really love this DeMar DeRozan price tag. So definitely a guy we can consider here. They have 108 implied team total. DeJounte Murray, 6,100 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. All these guys are too cheap on DraftKings. 32 and 46 in his last 2. Love this price tag for Murray here. It's some guy we can really consider. So, we talked about Powell a little bit. I don't mind running both together, but Murray's going to be probably safer than Powell, but I don't mind playing both of them together. So maybe we threw Murray in this lineup, and then we look at maybe getting off Collins and spinning up to one of those forwards you talked about. Maybe going back and throwing some bonus in this lineup and getting guards that can all get us 40. Jackson, Powell, Murray, they all get us 40. That's a way we can kind of build and still get one spend up. Is one way to look at things. Again, Aldridge 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel, 32, 22, 43. The minutes, again, haven't been over 30. But against Denver, they're probably going to need his size. So tournaments only, but that's about it. And really, I don't really want to consider anyone else. Vassal's always interesting because he's put up 28, 21 in 2 of his last 4, but he's also got a 5 and a 14. It's really hard to trust Pop and the Spurs when they're fully healthy. But I think Murray and DeRozan are the guys that are going to be safest when it comes to usage and minutes. We get Murray's been a 1.10 fantasy points per minute, averaging 30 minutes. No one is averaging over 34 minutes DeMar DeRozan is the highest minutes on this team. So Pop spreads him way out. It's hard to trust him on a slate this large. I don't think you go here outside of DeMar DeRozan or Murray. And the last game of the night, it is an island game, 10 p.m., the hammer. And we get Dallas at Utah, 221.5 over under. Utah favored by 3.5. And it's a good hammer, man. It's a good hammer. We just saw this game. We just saw it. And we do have Donovan Mitchell is questionable. Let me just verify. He is questionable. He's going through that concussion protocol. And Derek Favors is questionable as well. So it sucks this game is so late because I'm going to start on the Utah side. If Mitchell is out, I'm going to go right back to all these guys. And we saw it. Now, Ingles was 4,200 last game against the Dallas, but they have a 112 implied team total here. Ingles is 5,200 on FanDuel, but, in this game, he put up 41 fantasy points in 30 minutes, and he got the start. So at 4,700, you got to consider some Joe Ingles. Clarkson at 6,400 on DraftKings and 5,800 on FanDuel. If Mitchell's out, Clarkson's a lock button again. Put up 44 fantasy points in 33 minutes. Shot 11 from 21. Just monster here. So again, Clarkson's one of those guys where we're looking at this thing. I would play him. You could slide him in here and say, hey, I'm going to play Clarkson with Jackson, Powell, and Murray, and I got 7,300. So there's ways you can go there as well. Again, Rudy Gobert, 7,500. I love that price tag on him. He put up a monster game against Dallas, 68 in 37 minutes. So this is a great hammer game. I hope we get Mitchell news early, but at the same time, if you're playing cash, you're going to want to backload your lineups a little bit. It's an island game, man. So a lot of these games, this game is starting an hour and a half after the last game. So if Mitchell is out, all these guys are going to be in play again. I'm probably going to want two of them. I think Clarkson's my favorite, but Mike Conley at 6K on DraftKings, 6,700 on FanDuel. He put up 34 fantasy points in 30 minutes. He's squarely in play. But again, Clarkson, he would be a core play lock button on FanDuel and on DraftKings, cash play for me. And then you can even look at playing Ingles as well in cash. Priced up a little bit, but I still think you can consider him. And then Rudy Gobert, definitely a guy that you can anchor your lineups around. So say you wanted to play both Rudy and Zeller, or you just wanted to go Rudy and don't play Zeller at all. Leaves you 5,900 here for your last spot. So there's lots of ways you can build this. Maybe we want to get off Gordon Hayward here and throw three guys. I don't even mind playing Clarkson, Ingles, and Gobert here against Dallas with how bad defensively Dallas has been. And this is only if Mitchell is out. We have to consider that. So, again, backload some of your lineups, kind of figure out where things are sitting, but you're going to want a couple of these guys in cash games, especially on FanDuel. Like I said, Clarkson is a lock button play. And I think Clarkson's in play regardless of 5,800. Even if we do have Mitchell playing, he's been playing well regardless, so, but a lock button if Mitchell is out. Over on the Dallas side, I don't think we have any injury consideration here on the Dallas side. They just have been playing really bad. They've got a lot of their guys back, though. They got Richardson back. Finney Smith is back. Powell is back. He only played 24 minutes, didn't do so hot last game. Luka at 10-6, 45 fantasy points. He's trying to put this team on his back. Again, I think he's always going to be in play at 10-6 on DraftKings, 11-5 over on FanDuel. So he is priced up. Porzingis at 7,900 on DraftKings. 7,900 on FanDuel is a good price. But again, playing against Utah here, don't love it. And then having some of these other bigs come back, the minutes aren't going to be super high. So I'd rather play Rudy on, for cheaper if we don't have Mitchell. Like we need to have no Mitchell here. So Not super excited to play anything on the Dallas side. It's more on the Utah side just because we're waiting on Mitchell and the injury consideration. So that's where I'm kind of sitting at, I hope you enjoyed this, just kind of going through the game, talking it out, kind of seeing where, get your feet wet a little bit before, we get more of the news throughout the day to start building our lineups. And again, if you like these videos, please hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and turn that notification bell. Let you know when I keep uploading these videos. And if you're not a part of DFS Army, head on over there, sign up, use promo code CashKeg, save yourself 10%, get all the VIP information in there, and look out for a couple more videos. I will have another prize picks video as well as prop bets where we have been stomping the prop bets over the last couple days. And with that, have a good Friday. TGIF. Deuces.